Welcome to Movers and Shakers, the kitchen, bedroom, bathroom and merchant industries podcast by Simon Akers. Today, we're very pleased to be joined by Neil Jones, Managing Director of Blanco West Europe. In this episode, Neil takes us through Blanco's heritage and evolution, how they're supporting retailers with showrooms and displays, the challenges and opportunities in today's market, and their latest innovations, from modular water systems to digital training platforms. We're also proud to say that Blanco is a sponsor of our KBB Futures event in London on the 4th of December. Blanco has built its reputation on supplying not just kitchen sinks, but integrated solutions around what they call the kitchen water place. The sink, taps, drink systems, and all the elements that make that area functional, beautiful, and efficient.
So Neil, I have looked at the website, a very impressive website, and 100 years of established business. So I'd love to talk about the heritage of Blanco. So we're a beautiful showroom here in St Albans, Radlett area, I would say. So tell me about the 100 years.
Yeah, so we're celebrating 100 years of Blanco this year. Blanco's a German family-owned business ultimately, and over the course of those 100 years, there's always been involvement in producing products that are for kitchens. Predominantly, and really just centering around what we now call the kitchen water place, which in layman's terms is typically the sink area.
Because that's a misconception. So some people say, well, Blanco is a kitchen sink supplier manufacturer, but actually it's so much more.
It is, and it's really now at the heart of the direction of travel we're doing, which is that we recognise that 60% of the time consumers spend at the kitchen water place in any domestic kitchen, and so in order to maximise both the satisfaction you get from that area and get the most functionality out of it, we put together a portfolio of products that sort of not just look like they go together but are integrated together in design and functionality. So
absolutely. So you've been in the position almost 3 years, Neil. So for those who don't know you, how did you get into KBB?
So I've always worked in businesses that have got brands and products, so consumer-centric products, and I've always been on supply side, effectively providing to retailers of big and small status, different types of products. And there's a common theme through it that it sort of had water and food related, whether it was coffee machines and things like that more latterly, and then so there's an association with the kitchen space certainly that fits with my background.
Okay, fantastic. And then today, in today's market, how is business for Blanco?
So business is, we're now several years past the boom of COVID bubble and
we can't mention that word.
We can't mention that word. I don't blame you. It does seem very hazy what we were all doing, that's for sure, during that period. But so now, as I go around and talk with customers of different types, I'd say I talk to some people who talk about green shoots, they're seeing recovery. I see equally people that are still finding it very difficult, and they talk about footfall being down, they talk about needing to work harder to close out a customer in comparison with where they were in the last few years, for sure. But the interesting thing being part of Blanco's global perspective is actually that's not a UK phenomenon. So we're able to also look and say, okay, what's working well in this market, and maybe introduce things.
So where do you see the remainder of this year in terms of growth? Are we going to be static as an industry, or are we going to be increasing in sales between now and the end of the year? And where do you see the new year?
I think the challenges that all the customers are facing is there isn't really some big consumer push in the sense of confidence. To go out there and invest in the rightful amount of money you need to do lots and lots of investment in your home. But there is still opportunity, because there still is this natural churn of new kitchens being required, refurbished kitchens being required. You see all the talk about we need to build more homes, and that's not going to go away. So all of this bodes that there will be demand coming through, and we just need to work hard.
Yes, absolutely. Neil, on the back of that, what advice can you give a retailer who says, no one's coming in the showroom? What advice would you give them so they'll make a change?
I think we can be there to support what they're trying to do with their businesses. So we have now a portfolio of products that means we can provide a kitchen water-based solution at a premium end, and equally we've got a portfolio that should fit most budgets. So I would say, in terms of what we can do to help, just keep reaching out to us. We'll reach out to them and say, what can we do to try and help you do it.
What do you think a retailer could do though to, if you've got, let's say, an established business been around 40 years and they've all done it the same way, what's in the market do you think is changing now where they should perhaps think about new solutions to get more people in the showroom? What sort of things could you advise people to consider?
I mean, I'm sure most of the businesses are already looking at all of these things, but we see more and more digital in terms of the interaction between potential customers and retailers or us as suppliers. So whether that's in the social media space or whether that's just in terms of having information available digitally to share, consumers are more prepared to spend the time looking at them individually on their own than they ever were. Exactly, the research phase. Okay. They're just more comfortable doing that. So that means a good website from a retailer's point of view as well, linking with the manufacturer is quite important. Yeah, again, it could be website, it could be socially based, because that works incredibly well to show off the quality of work that so many of the retailers are doing. I mean, let's not hide away from the fact when you see the finished article of a beautiful kitchen that's been put in place, it is at its optimum moment, and that's what consumers are aspiring to have at the end of their projects. So you're saying is that from the retailer's point of view, it's important to be well trained on the products as well, Neil, potentially. Yeah, definitely, and we see that because every supplier wants to talk about how wonderful their products are. In our particular case, we need to focus on making sure we've got some really simple messages around the products that are points of difference, that are real reasons why a consumer would be interested in it, that just helps the retailer push. On the back of that, I mean, innovation is a really big word this year. So in my view, is when somebody comes into a retail showroom, there needs to be like almost a showstopper. So what would you say your innovative product is that a retailer could potentially fit as a display which would captivate the attention? Yeah, so we've got an award-winning drink system in our portfolio now. We call it Choice. The reason why we call it Choice is because for us a drink system isn't just a binary thing that you can have boiling water or ambient water for it. For us, it's about having a system that can be personalised to suit the consumer. So what does personalised simplistically mean? It means our system can deliver you boiling water, or you can select it at anything down to 65 degrees. It means it comes with filtered water. It means it comes with carbonated water, but you can decide how fizzy you want your water. And of course, you may think, well, a lot of this then just makes it more complex. Really, what we're seeing in consumers is you just need to dangle that this is an opportunity for them, and then let the consumer effectively say, well, I prefer my drink like this. And who am I to say how they should take their drink? So there's customizability there. There's a word such as that. Exactly. And I think that really fits with what the kitchen design industry is always striving to achieve, because for anybody who enters into having a kitchen project, it's a very personal affair. They definitely want to know and feel that they're the only people who ever has a kitchen in this layout. It's a very personal choice. So for us to then say, okay, now we've got an array of tap designs and finishes. This is a standard option that you can have. Exactly. People exactly. Choice. So our way of coming at the kitchen water place is we have a modular system that will fit in different size cabinets and different size solutions. But from a consumer point of view, it's then you can now shape this to suit your best version of what you want. So I guess with these such items, with displays is a big topic in the industry. So how does Blanco support the retailer when some retailers will say, well, Neil, how much are you going to pay me to put your product in my showroom? What would you say to that? We would say that we have various ways in which we support showrooms with display products, ranging from full displays, ranging to occasionally tap bars and sink bars, etc. But we always just want to work on a one-to-one basis of what's the right combination of products for the kitchen in which they're going. And we'd like to think that then it's a collaborative way of making sure you've got the right solutions, rather than us just basically coming in and saying you must display this particular product. I think that's a bit naive.
So you're asking plenty of questions and trying to find a tailored solution, but then when it comes down to cost, because cost is a big thing, or let's call it investment. So what sort of things do you guys do in terms of supporting
we invest thousands and thousands every year into display product and various things, and notwithstanding the fact we also understand the business model that they operate with, which in many cases the display product is no different from an actual product. It's,
I find it interesting that in my time in the industry that a manufacturer can invest into a showroom, and if you don't then follow that up with the proper training, then there's a question, why hasn't it sold? I mean, what's your view on what an area sales manager should be doing to support a retailer?
So I think it's very wise words you're talking about there. For us, it's incredibly rare that one of our regional salespeople would be literally walking into a showroom and take an order for goods. And why is it so rare is because you think about the coordination would have to happen for that to be in effect. Instead, they're there to train. They're there to train not just the owners of the businesses, but they're there to train the salespeople, they're there to train the designers, and furthermore, I also think they're there to train the installers, because some of the advantages we're now coming with our products is much more in the plug and play installation space. So if we can't get that simplistic message across, then it will always feel that
so it's almost like a one fixed connection in some cases.
Definitely, for the choice product I referenced, it is literally you plug in the cold water and everything else is done within it. There's no sequential installation. But to your point about saying what their job is, so principally it's training. Principally it's also then supporting with sales initiatives to help the retailers push through and pull through, depending on how you look at it. It's also the job there is to make sure the product looks to the best of its standard in situ. So we do have various display materials that can accompany the product that then help with the call out, because if you're navigating around a showroom and you're looking at very clean lines all the time from a consumer point of view, it's difficult to naturally understand the different point of quality or difference in point of features and benefits. So you do need to permit for some education, or silent salesmen, other people would
Do you
call
tend to find that Blanco have more solar suppliers? Is that the strategy, or do you tend to find that typically you'll share with perhaps two other manufacturers doing a similar thing?
I don't think we sit there with a hard and fast rule on it. Largely, again, I come back to your point about what really makes a great supplier, and I would say, well, we need to recognise the portfolio of products we sell and do a great job of that. But why would you, if we don't do a sink in pink, I just don't think.
I'd love to sink in pink.
Naturally, we were just talking about it, weren't we, before we started? But for me, it would be naive to think if you happen to have a customer who is absolutely hell-bent set on a pink sink, so be it.
I need to tell you a really quick story, because when I first came into the industry working for a distribution company, and there was this thing called a kitchen swink, and you used to hang it from the the ceiling in the window of a showroom, and this thing had a light bulb in it, and the thing would light up at night time, so people couldn't get head round electric and water. Would you believe it? They only ever sold displays, they never ever sold ongoing repeat sales.
Brilliant.
But it was a showstopper, one of your pink sinks.
Like one of the pink sinks we're talking about. Yeah, and there is that effect. Why do other retailers have festoon shop windows? It's attraction to get things in.
We need showstoppers. So the other thing to ask when the sales people go into an outlet, there's a big debate actually, because not necessarily Blanco, but manufacturers in general. Should manufacturers in KBB be offering business advice to retailers? Because sometimes if you're a small retailer, an SME in a small town, you may not know what maybe you know as the MD of a big multi-million pound business. So should they be business advisors also?
I think that there's a really good place to be a business advisor in the area of specialism that the supplier has. I think, for us to go and talk about the kitchen water place area, I think that that can be helpful, and we do have notes prepared to help talk about things like the margin that can be achieved from selling a range of products, or what's the difference between version 1 and version 2 in terms of
that's more product based. Yeah.
But it is exactly it's product based.
Okay.
I think we can stretch that to talk about certainly installation and some of the services, but then I think also we need to recognise really quite strongly the whole consumer journey. So I'll give you an example of the product that we've now got on the market, the Choice. It's not just app connected, which gives the consumer the ability to change things through a lovely interface rather than have to play with buttons and knobs on the box itself.
Yeah.
But also it's connected to the cloud, so were there ever to be an issue with the product, we can centrally see the performance of the product.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Why is that a benefit?
It's like a microchip, but obviously remote.
Yeah, I mean it probably isn't a microchip, but I get your point. It's just why is that of interest to the retailer?
Something you can dial into, you say.
Exactly. So why is that of interest to the retailer? Because as I understand it, the focus should be on the project. The project is finished. They don't really want to have involvement so much in after sales or anything like that.
Quality assurance related also.
Exactly. So we don't stipulate. You don't have to connect the device. It's not a rule. But if a consumer has done that, then we can just work independently and look at it. And so far,
fault diagnosis, all that.
Exactly. And so far with this technology, we've found
really
that 99.5% of the challenges we've had with the product, it's literally been when the consumer hasn't quite tightened the water filter enough. Yeah. Which, well, imagine that from
a bayonet connection.
Exactly. But imagine that from a business point of view.
Sending somebody out all 50, 60 miles of return.
Correct.
Journey,
and it shouldn't be anything that the kitchen showroom's involved in.
Makes sense. So talking specifically about that, so when you have people who have some technical ability, how do Blanco, because we're massively into apprenticeships and learning and development, how do you here internally first train your people? How do you invest in your people, Neil?
Yeah, so we've got a really positive attitude internally to learning and development. Full stop. There's a mixture of things. There's the skills required to do the roles as well as possible. Yeah. And we have a suite of
job description. Yeah.
Exactly. We have a suite of training tools. Most of them now digital again, so they can be done in people's own time.
Online modules.
Online modules, exactly. And it is a scored system, so they get credits for completing it. Yeah. So it's a mixture of the carrot and stick with that, because obviously we have an obligation that they do it. Exactly. Yeah. But you can walk away with 5 stars from every course, so that's quite nice. Yeah. But then the same platform, and we were talking earlier about LinkedIn. So what we've done is we've connected our learning platform to things like LinkedIn's learning library.
Yes.
So I think at the last count, effectively, our team has access to over 20,000 modular courses.
They're paid courses, aren't they? So you're investing with your team.
Some are. Some are paid, some aren't.
So you're actively. Is there somebody here that would be responsible to encourage that learning?
Yes, in the sense that the platform is a provision, but when you say responsibility, we just make all managers say, well, you want the best for your team,
brilliant.
And we allow them a little bit of time during the typical working month that could be used to that. Yeah. And I welcome the fact, therefore, that people are stretching their knowledge base. I mean, sometimes they might be sitting in accounts and they're learning principles of marketing, or they might be doing public speaking courses, and there's a vast array that's available.
And here specifically at HQ, do you or have you hired an apprentice on a government standard, Neil?
So we do have. In our warehouse operations, we've brought on board trainees in that, and we then participate through the apprenticeship schemes in that area. I mean, I suppose if you ask me what do I feel about bringing on board that, I would say there are things that we naturally look to bring on board people with the right attitude and then train them for the skills, which I think fits that dynamic of...
That's a big part. Attitude's a great hiring attribute.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. And we would typically choosing between two candidates, if we can see a more positive attitude but necessarily no superior experience or skills, we would pick that one because we can think that we can work with it.
Yeah. I mean, what percentage of your customer base, your repeat sales outlets, would understand about how to hire an apprentice? Do you think at this time in your career and where we are today, what out of 100%, if you looked at an average typical retail outlet, how many people would know about how to hire an apprentice, you think, Neil?
I definitely would struggle to put a number on it. I would say, what do we see as we're going around? Well, we do see there is a churn to the staff, and therein probably means there's the opportunity to bring on board.
Because very often take that point, if you train and invest in somebody, then typically they'll stay working for that business, won't they?
Yeah. Although I probably, we were talking earlier as well about things that you learn through career over a period of time, and I would say I now have a different view of what counts as a long server. Let's say. Because I think that, especially if I look in fields of, say, digital marketing, or I look in fields of rapid development out there, it's no longer really realistic to think that you can bring somebody in and expect them to stay for 10, 20 years, and that's a true return on your investment of training. In some cases, if we were to bring in somebody in the digital space, there's a very good chance that they'll be out of date probably after 2 years, and so we definitely don't want to have an environment where we're stymieing their personal development. We need to, you really have to feed that if you want them to demonstrate what you've just talked about. It's a different, it may be more certain field specific. And by the way, I don't ever think that that's a reason why we want people to leave. It's just there is a realistic point.
And I guess on that too, indirectly, we have a responsibility for, encouraging more installers, because that's a big issue in the industry. And we won't have a business if we don't encourage more people to learn how to install. It could be the water storage solutions. It could be the heating, the cooling, or the sparkling, or what have you, or the pull-out bins. But how to fit all those things and getting the skill set to do it is going to be a problem for the future. So our understanding is the average age is about 55 plus. So is there anything that you guys do to encourage, installers indirectly to hire more and to train and to teach? Or would you bring people here, for example, and contribute that way?
Well, we can definitely contribute that way by saying we are actively open for any installer to become and trained on product in the same way as a retailer could be trained on product. We can do it digitally now as well, because I think that's another factor, because as you rightly point out, if installers are needed to drag them off the road for, half a day is either then a lost revenue for the individual, or it's a cost somewhere else in the equation. So we're able to now do remote digital training on our products, including installation, and we use the showroom here as the background, but it's not one-way training, so effectively it can become interactive. We can stop and repeat, or we can and follow up materials. So we can do things like that to definitely help. But notwithstanding the fact, the other bit that we are trying to do with innovative products is make them easier and faster to install. Because at the end of the day, we recognise our bit is one bit of the bigger jigsaw, and the last thing we should be doing is turning up with saying, please can we have an extra 20% of the time of the installation, because that all feeds into the problem.
Neil, do you have a feeling on whose responsibility it should be in the industry to signpost apprenticeships? Who should be doing that?
Signposting apprenticeships. So in the responsibility of probably all of our businesses is the well-being and the development of the teams that we have. As a manager, I have the responsibility to develop the team. If I can therefore say, the best way to increase the capability of my team is to look at apprentices, or colleagues like that, then I would have to do that.
I'm thinking more specifically about if let's say I was a young person leaving education who's where do I find out about how to get opportunity in the industry? And in our industry now, whose responsibility should it be to signpost companies or individuals to marry them together? What should be the case there, do you think? Who needs to be, shouting about this more to make more hires happen?
I'm not sure I have a fixed view on exactly the right formula for that. I've had experience in licensed retail that there was better collaboration with colleges and courses to sort of almost showcase the employment opportunity as that, and I think that helps. I mean, I also tend to live in a rural environment, and at the moment I can tell you the impact of Jeremy Clarkson's profile on the farming industry is ridiculous in comparison with all the work the NFU has done to try and highlight all of exactly the same problems. He makes a nice lager out the back of it as well. So you could think of very elaborate profiles to it.
But I'd like to give a big shout out to Blanco, because thank you. You're very kindly sponsoring our KBB Futures on the 4th of December in London this year. So that's a great forum where we've got some real great MDs around the table collaborating and talking about industry issues, but giving solutions. And we're going to basically say to people around the table, if you'd like to focus on this element of the conversation, we'll come back and report on it next time round. So big shout out to you, because that is a good forum to to film that conversation and to communicate how to hire an apprentice is one aspect of that event. So thank you.
And good on you for organising it and getting people together for it, because it should be. We need to keep energising the sector, just keep moving with it.
So we're really looking forward to that. So we're just coming to the end of the Move and Shake film. So 2 final questions for you. So can you relay, Neil, an amusing story in your career that we could all learn from?
Amusing story. I say whether it look, this is not going to win some Edinburgh Fringe Comedy Award or anything like that, but I once saw an anonymous appliance retailer did a lot of secret filming of their competitors' stuff, and they did it to make a point about the quality of the people who were working in the stores. What it actually did show, though, is it showed all of these people who work in retail, and it showed you how desperate they were to do a good job, because people were asking them pointed questions like, could you please explain the benefit of this washing machine to me? And you saw in you saw the faces of these people, and you could tell they'd been trained. You could tell they'd been told, but what they couldn't do was they couldn't give succinct, quick answers.
Right.
And the learning point out of it was that each supplier rocks up and probably tries to give the same member of staff 500 reasons why their product is brilliant.
Right, same pitch.
The same pitch, or an adjacent pitch, or whatever. And then these I say poor people, I don't mean it in a derogatory sense, they're desperately trying to give good service, they're desperately trying to do good work, and they're just trying to recall it.
Yeah.
And so, the learning out of it was not to laugh at people who couldn't relay the messages well, but actually to say, come on, there's a responsibility there on the supply side to say what materials really add value. What do we need to fight against, because we need to make sure we're doing as good a job as we can with our products because we believe in them and that they are great at what they do, but try our best to keep it simple, to make the points, to almost let the consumer journey happen rather than force down rules.
Like Richard Branson says, keep it simple and over communicate it. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. We have to keep looking at ourselves all the time on that. Are we really living that?
Yes, so continuity review what you do. That's it. Yeah, good advice. Yeah. And then finally, Neil, you're about to catch a flight from Heathrow to France.
True.
And I always ask these questions. So if you're taking me out for a lovely evening meal, would you take me to French, which is where you're off to, or France, as you're off to shortly? Will we have an Italian meal? Will we have Chinese and Indian, or perhaps good old-fashioned pub grub? What's your tip?
It's really good. I tell you, I think I would introduce you to something. You may well be doing this every weekend, the lifestyle you lead, but I would do fish and chips with champagne.
Fish and chips
with champagne.
That's very classy. I like that. Fish and chips
Yeah,
with champagne. So that's the nation's second favourite takeaway is the fish and chips, I'm told. But spice it with a bit of champagne.
So what? Yeah.
Is there a particular brand of champagne?
Neither is a particular brand of fish and chips, but I would say what I'd be introducing you to is that this culinary phenomenon that you can have this staple British good, and then you can have this sort of acidic slide which cuts through.
Yeah.
And the combination is almost as good as pizza and champagne.
Yeah.
But
I'd have to forego the pickled onion doing that.
You can go lateral on it as much as you want.
Neil Jones, thank you very much indeed.
Nice to,
thank you.
you.
So thank you so much for watching today's edition of Movers and Shakers. If you've liked what you've seen or you've heard, you can press the bell icon on YouTube to follow to get future notifications. And we absolutely love your comments. Please leave your comments. We look forward to seeing you soon.